found the materials, Dad.
What materials?
So to answer your question, I got myself high and messed up to escape the reality of having a father who is either a ritualist or a psychopath.
Episode 1 of this season concluded with Martins discovering all the ritual materials he saw with his father in his dream. What do you think will be Martins' next line of action? Follow us and let's enjoy this recap together. A quick disclaimer: this recap is for educational and entertainment only. It is not meant to replace the movie, neither should it stop you from watching the whole video on YouTube. Abattoir is produced by our favorite director and actor, Damilola Mike Bamiloye. If you are just coming across this channel, you should definitely subscribe by clicking on the subscription button and turn on the notification bell for more recap like this. After Martins discovered the ritual materials, he went back to his room, breathing heavily and lost in thought. His phone rang. It was his friend Victor calling. Remember, they had an agreement in episode 1 to meet someone later in the evening. Martins picked up the call and told Victor he's on his way. On getting to the place, it was a nightclub party, so Victor introduced Martins to the guy they've come to meet. Victor collected the money he asked Martins to bring along and gave it to the guy. In exchange, he gave them something inside a small carton. Eventually, we found out that it was actually a weed. The guy asked them to meet him at the other room for maximum enjoyment, which they did. On getting there, Martins lost his sense of sanity and gave in to lots of alcoholic drinks and smoking of weeds. Next, we saw Chief Sawyer and the Inspector General of Police, actually his name is Bade, having a conversation. Remember, I said something strange was going on between these two guys, especially the way they greeted each other in the last episode. So Chief Sawyer said it's the night for the sacrifice, and he asked Bade how he's feeling about it. Bade responded by telling Sawyer that killing a human being has never been his strong point. He said he wished there is a way out of this fraternity. Now, without any doubt, we now know that these guys belongs to a secret cult, and obviously Bade is new to the game. Then Bade asked Sawyer how he felt when he killed his wife. Now we also know who killed Mrs. Sandra Sawyer, and that Bassey was actually innocent but is already in jail. Sawyer replied and said he didn't kill his wife, but she was only a sacrifice for the greater good. No blood, no glory. Bade said he remembered when they were on campus. They came into politics to make a difference, help the masses and serve the nation. He said they were innocent. They were ready to destroy any monsters that stands in the way of the progress of this country. But now, they are now the monsters. But Sawyer replied, he said he may be many things, but he is not a monster. He did what he had to do to survive. Bade asked him if killing his wife is for power or survival. Sawyer said he survived by standing on the grounds of power, and power comes with a cost, and the cost could be the sacrifice of the one you love the most. Then Bade admitted and said they don't call Sawyer the godfather for no reason. Sawyer replied and said he is the most respected and revered politician in his clan. He has paid his dues, so he asked Bade if he is ready to pay his. Bade's phone rang. Speaking of the devil, said Bade, Bade's sacrifice, Jumuk, who is a university student, was the one calling. She reminded Bade the 500,000 naira he promised to send to her. Bade asked her to send her account details and also told her that his driver would be at her place tomorrow evening to pick her up. Jumuk's roommate tried to call her to order, but she shunned her and asked her not to put her mouth in her business. Then Bade told Sawyer it's done. Jumuk's roommate tried again to preach to her, as if she knows the lion was about to devour, but Jumuk was very vindictive. She kept on exchanging words with her and never take it to any of her advice. Here is Martins inside the gutter after the long night. Obviously, that is where he slept over the night. We also saw Victor's parents struggling with the car. The mother is checking under the car while the father is trying to drive carefully. What could they be looking for? Oh my god, it is Victor. He actually slept under the car overnight. I love Victor's father, a typical Yoruba father. He gave him the beating of his life, then he was asked to stood down in the sitting room. I know some of us can relate to this, right? While he was there shaking, his father kept talking to him while his mom read scriptures to his hearing. What a family. Here is Martins in his room, listening to music and busy gulping alcohol. One of his father's guys came to drag him to his father, waiting for him in the living room. Chief Sawyer, in his annoyance, asked his son what in heaven's name pushed him inside the gutter. He said since his mother died, he has lost every sense of purpose. For how long will he continue like this? But Martins replied that he doesn't understand why a man will kill an innocent woman and now use her blood for some diabolical stuffs. He shouted at his father that he found the ritual materials he was hiding. He reminded his father about the issue of no blood, no glory. He said he did his research and found out that the Inspector General of Police never had had a daughter bearing such a name as Gloria. So Martins told his father to his face that he got himself messed up and high to escape the reality of having a father who is either a ritualist or a psychopath. Chief Duro Soya gave him a very hot and thundering slap, but Martin stood and shouted at him that the gutter he slept in is far better than the abattoir he built with his blood-stained hands. Chief Soya, in anger, strangled his son, but thank God he did not kill him. Soya asked his son, he said if he was a murderer, then what is he still doing in his house? Martins responded that he wanted to witness the end of his father and watch a stranger murder him just like he did to his mother. He said in this house, he is only a stranger waiting to see how a murderer will be murdered. Wow, this is a very hard conversation between a father and a son. If you are still watching this recap to this point, it shows you are learning and enjoying this recap. Please do well to like this video and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you. Here is Jumuk in her room preparing to go to Bade's place. A car horned from outside. She rose up to check and told her roommate the car is here. She asked if her roommate would be joining her, but she didn't answer her. She told her she won't be late and she left. She met Bade at the bar. He tricked her to a private room. He told her life is about sacrifice. No blood, no glory. He went behind her, brought out a rope and strangled her to death. Her roommate was worried. She tried calling all her friends in case she is with them, but all her effort was fruitless. Here is Bade in his ritual room, reciting no blood, no glory several times, and he went on his knee to complete the ritual. The police came to investigate the missing of Jumuk. They questioned her roommate to get the side of her story. Eventually, one of the officers received a call that they found her. Obviously, that would be her dead body because the officer didn't alter any word to her parents present there. Remember, in episode 1, Martins promised to give Victor a solid punch in the face if where they will be going to will get them into trouble. Yes, Martins is going angrily to fulfill his promise to Victor. He found Victor and gave him a solid punch in the face and threw him to the floor, and the two boys begins to fight until they were separated by their friends. Martins asked Victor why he dumped him inside the gutter. Then Victor responded that if he dumped him in the gutter, then how did he find himself under his father's car? Martins was quiet and he doesn't know what to say again. The news reported the death of Jumuk, and her father was shown crying and saying God will definitely judge whosoever that is responsible for the death of his daughter. Bade was watching the news and felt remorseful for what he has done. Meanwhile, Martin's school principal called his father to let him know that his son will be expelled from the school alongside his friend Victor due to the stain their action have brought to the reputation of the school. On getting home, Chief Duro Soya called Bade and told him they need to meet for an important discussion, and they agreed to meet at the club. Getting to the club, Bade asked Soya what the problem was and why he called him out of the blues. Soya asked if his son called him for any information, and Bade confirmed that truly Martins called him to ask if he has any daughter bearing glory, and he said no. Soya said he is done with his son. He said Martins has evolved into a monster he can't curb anymore. Bade was initially confused and doesn't understand what Soya was saying about his son. Then Soya told him that his son now knows everything about the killing of his mother, the ritual, and how he confronted him holding a knife to attack him. Bade said Soya is raising an animal that belongs to the zoo. He asked him how he can help him. Soya said he wants Martins to stay away from him for a while. He wants to hand him over to Bade, but Bade replied that it won't be possible because if he hands his son over to him, it is either Martins kills him or he kills Martins. So Soya asked Bade how he can help him. Bade said Martins needs a perfect example of a godly father, someone worthy of emulation. Then Soya asked where does that place him? Bade said Soya is a good father, but they are looking for a godly one and it doesn't fit into such picture. He said if he really wants to help his son, he needs to stay far away from him and watch him grow from a distance. So Bade recommended his wife's spiritual mentor, and guess who that person is? Yes, Babagbenro. Soya said he doesn't see his son buying into all this, but Bade told him not to sell it to him, but rather force it on him. Soya asked how. Then Bade reminded him of who he is. You are Chief Duro Soya, first in rank, holder of the secret seer. What he decrees comes to pass. If he wants it done, then it is done. Bade told him to show Martins is his father. He brought him into this world and he can take him out. Here is Martins in his room, listening to music as usual. Two policemen entered his room and told told him he is under arrest for possession of hard drugs and harmful substances. He argued with them, but they bundled him outside. His father called him a criminal and told him he needs some times behind the bars. He ordered the policemen to take him away. Martin shouted and pleaded with his father not to allow them to take him to prison. Soya reminded his son that 2 days ago he looked him in the face and told him he was no longer his father, and since that day he lost a son in him. Soya told him to take a good look at the house, because this is the last time he is going to ever step his feet into the house. He has rejected him as a father, and now he also disowned him as a son. Martin pleaded. He said it doesn't mean all what he said to him. He said he was under the influence of alcohol. He begged his father again not to send him away. Then later he asked his father if he can go back to get some things, but Soya told him there is no going back for him and the only way forward is out of his house. Then Soya told him the truth. He said the policemen won't be arresting him, but a driver is waiting outside to take him far away from him and his house. Then he ordered the men to take him out. Now we've seen what happened between Martins and his father and how he ended up being raised by Babagbero and his wife. Now we are back to the present. Babagbero prayed for Martins. He asked God to heal his past, renew his present, and restore his future. In Jesus' name, amen. And this brings us to the end of episode 2. Do you think Martin's father will stop calling him to come back home? And don't let us forget that Chief Duro Soya is a diabolical man. Please subscribe and like this video for episode 3. Thank you.